Hi again. I'm here, Tom Rayner. Another week and ride together tech talk regarding light rail, and I thought that I would show you a map of the railway line, and let's talk about some of the things that we can see on the way. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to run from the railway line, runs from Byron Bay, the existing track. Runs from Byron. At the moment, there is a solar train that runs between Byron and Elements here at North Beach Station. Now, when we run our light rail service, our trams would need a passing loop here to be able to move past the Byron solar train. And whilst the Byron solar train is in North Beach, our tram would be in Byron and vice versa. So we'd have to have a passing loop along here somewhere. This section here is nominated as being or deemed to be a railway line. It is different from light rail. You are not able to run pedestrians, etc., against or closely against a railway line. And so I'm not sure how far they're going to extend the railway line for the solar train. I think there's plans to bring it to Tiagra and having a park and ride. So this section of track may be deemed a railway line rather than a light rail system. If you want to know the difference between light rail and heavy rail, go to our website and you'll see a section on light rail and discussions about what it is and how it operates, and you'll learn more there. Okay, so North Beach Station, Tiagra. So Byron really has a problem about cars getting in and out of Ewingsdale Road. As I am sure you are aware, there are 2.7, depending on the year, of course, but let's use the nice round figure of 2.7 million visitors to Byron. And I think it's something like 8 million visitor nights, bed nights from visitors in Byron, in this little spot here. It is amazing how many people in New South Wales go to Byron Bay. Remember these figures because they are so important. Now, Tiagra has been noted as being somewhere where possibly there could be a park and ride, where people drive up and down the motorway, go into Tiagra, park their cars and get a public transport system in and out of Byron. So we would, with our light rail and our trams, would also be picking up and dropping off people to that location. And also with the school services that we would intend to run, those school trams or whatever vehicles are used outside of school hours can come down and join in with to be able to provide a much more frequent service for those car parking people, so that when you go and park your car at Tiagra, you've only got maybe 15 minutes to wait at most before a tram comes along or the solar train comes along to be able to pick you up and take you into Byron. Okay, next we have along the line, we have a stop at Myocum, somewhere along here. Well, anyway, can service the community in the Myocum area. Oh, the other thing about Tiagra, hey, up around here, we've got Blues Fest, one of the massive festivals. And of course, to be able to get people out of the Blues Fest across to the railway line on tram or solar train into Byron, again, a great service can be provided there. And of course, we can encourage people to travel or visitors to the Blues Fest to travel north into Tweedshire or to Mullum, etc., to make transport, just assist with that transport needs and those bottlenecks of traffic at these events. So moving on to Mullum, Mullumbimby, favourite spot. Again, a lot of people travel from Mullum to Byron on a daily basis. It is getting very expensive to live in Byron these days. A lot of the people who used to live in Byron or even work in Byron now live in Murwillumbah, or even further afield, all the way to the edges of the Shire and indeed into Tweedshire. Murwillumbah has its own festival once a year. Fantastic one. I'm hoping it still keeps on going. The Murwillumbah would be a point of a passing loop to enable trams to pass each other. One will be in Mullum, the other one will be in Byron. You'll see that on the timetable shaded in yellow. So if you go and look at that section in the light rail section, you'll see a timetable and when trams would pass each other. Moving on, we have the town of Brunswick Heads, a favourite place that my kids love to go to a lot. In fact, they work there, and somehow I'm forever driving them there at the moment. And if they had a tram, they'd be able to get there by themselves. Here is the ideal opportunity to have a stop with a light rail service alongside the Coolamont Scenic Drive here, and of course we've got the station at Ballynudgel. From Ballynudgel, it is great to be able to get there as a public footpath that goes through the Marshalls Creek Nature Reserve into South Golden Beach. It's a nice, easy bicycle ride. You can get on your bike in South Golden Beach, push bike through to Ballynudgel, stick your push bike on the back of the tram on the trolley. Same if you're going to Ocean Shores here or to Brunswick Heads. It's a bit of a hill in here, so I would hope that there would be some sort of minibus service that would come and meet every single tram that goes past, would provide a local service around Ocean Shores, Brunswick Heads, New Brighton, that sort of thing, back to Ballynudgel as a centre. That's the way we can integrate transport to the main corridor here going through. Of course, the other great thing about Ballynudgel is, hey, Nudge Nudge night at the Ballynudgel Hotel. What a fantastic night. Now, you should be able to get to these locations and have a great time, not worry about how much alcohol, as long as you're doing it reasonably, you partake in and get home safely. Just think of for those late night workers in Byron, getting back to Mullum, or going out on the town in Murwillumbah, going to a pub or other venues or meals, etc., without worrying about drinking and driving, etc. And having a conductor on these trams to be able to be there for your safety and making sure you get home safely. After Ballynudgel, we've got this little village of, there's Yelgan here, there's a stop there. And of course, we have Splendour in the Grass, which is, and of course the Falls Festival, which is in here, in this location here, just again, very close to the Yelgan railway station. Now, the Byron Shire Council have done a study regarding rail use within Byron, and the results of that is that for every dollar spent on an infrastructure of, here we are, look, here's the report. You'll see it also on our website. Go and read all about it. They've done a fantastic study in 2019. And the results of that is for every dollar spent on the building a light rail and bike trail or beside it, the returns are the best under that scenario to the community. They get the best bang for their buck by doing light rail and bike trail beside. That's what we should be doing in Tweed. But you know, Tweed needs to think about things and also talk to the people who've done the studies in Byron. I mean, I'm sure under the Local Government Act, the councils are supposed to speak to and talk and confer with neighbouring councils, which they don't seem to have done in this case. Okay, then we've got, we go into the Tweedshire, and we've got this lovely little village where I'm from, which is Crabs Creek. Crabs Creek, half the people in Crabs Creek go south to Byron, and half the people in Crabs Creek go up over the range and go either to Tweed or to Murwillumbah. So that's basically where everyone goes to from Crabs Creek. Where is that? Well, that's along the railway line for most people. They travel alongside it to go to work or to school. Crabs Creek. Okay, we go on to Murwillumbah. There's going to be 700, I think it's 750 people, additional people going to live in a housing estate development here to the south of Murwillumbah. This whole hill is going to be a massive housing thing. Where's the public transport for those people? I think there's some low social economical housing, social housing going in that location as well. Buryingba, we have an ideal situation. We've got some fantastic cafes and exciting places here in Buryingba. Wonderful coffee and interesting old wares, etc., in shops and businesses here. With a light rail service, this would be another passing loop, and you could quite easily have a stop here at this road crossing and another stop up here. I'll come back through and tell you about the lay of the land and the construction so-called challenges. Here we have Buryingba Tunnel, half a kilometre long. Takes 8 minutes and 10 seconds to walk the length of that at an even walking pace. Keep that in mind. Okay, we've got this is probably the most difficult section of track to come up with the construction solutions. Just north of the Byron Tunnel. I've gone up and done a study of that area. Stoker's Siding, another little village with a lot of little industries and pottery, etc., and art gallery in Stoker's. We move on. We've got Dunbible, depending on how you say that, and then we come across to the art gallery located just in here. World-class art gallery, fantastic. Before arriving into Murwillumbah, South Murwillumbah here to the railway station. And then the line actually extends all the way up to Condong, where the old sugar mill, well, the sugar mill is. In days gone by, they used to take sugar grown at Crabs Creek. It had its own little tramway system at Crabs Creek, and sugarcane was carted by the railway line until into the 60s, I believe, until and deposited at Condong. Now, interestingly enough, when we look at the bigger picture, we move from Condong here, and we look at where Kingscliff is here, where the hospital is, and joining up with, they're going to bring the railway line down to Tweed, with the cross-border commissioner just released information on that recently, Queensland Rail bringing the railway line down to here. Now, there's talk about joining down the coast through to Byron. Because of the wetlands, etc., and the nature reserves, it would have to join into this location here. We've got wetlands over here. We've got pretty flat land through here. Yes, I agree, but from the Pottsville turnoff to Yelgan, we've got some pretty steep inclines, too steep for railway lines. There would have to be some massive cuttings or tunnels, probably cuttings, but pretty massive cuttings take a lot of real estate and a lot of cost to build a new railway line through here. So again, to go from Condong across to here, this distance, across flat ground to join up, versus going down through heavily built up with all of these nature reserves and these wetlands and these hills here to join up with the railway line here in the future, it's twice the distance and the massive amount of cost. People say that this line here is too wiggly and you can't get high-speed trains, but we're not talking about high-speed trains to go from Byron to join up the Queensland system. We're talking about providing community transport for these locations, and trains or light rail can travel, especially light rail can travel at 50 k's an hour. The whole journey time from Murwillumbah through to Byron Bay down the bottom here is 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now, if I was to drive that, it probably takes me 50 minutes to go to Byron. That's if I'm lucky enough to get in Ewingsdale Road and down here before I actually got to Byron. So the difference in time is not a huge difference. And of course, if you're relaxing on a light rail system, you can do your homework. You can prepare yourself for your next meeting. You can relax. You don't have to worry about the traffic. With the population growth that we're talking about in this area, if it's anything like they're predicting, I mean, I've heard stories of 4 times the population by 2060. How are you going to connect people together if you've taken up the railway line, which is already there, all the way through, and how ridiculous it will be if there's a bike track and no light rail system to be able to connect these communities. Okay, the type of terrain we're working through. Okay, South Murwillumbah along the side the railway line, all the way through to Stoker's Siding. We can, at the bottom of the embankments, we can do earthworks to raise that above the existing ground. If you look carefully at maps, a lot of these are cane areas and farm access where they've already got access tracks alongside the railway line within the farmer's property. So if we're doing it inside the farmer's property, they can do it the other side of a fence. There is no great problems in constructing there. I will do more detailed construction videos as we go on to bust a lot of the myths. As I say, this is the most difficult area here, and I have solutions for that, and it is certainly buildable. We've got to remember here, we're talking about constructing a bike path, or whatever you want to call it, that the cost for the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail is 144 kilometres long and cost $12 million to build the whole 144 kilometres. So why, I cannot understand why with a $15 million budget, we can't, in today's world, build a rail trail, bike trail, whatever you want to name it, from a 24-kilometre distance with a $15 million budget. All it needs is a bit of willpower. And look, if we can send people to the moon, and we can build a bridge across Sydney Harbour in the 1930s, we can sure build a bike path. Can we not? My God. Anyway. Tunnel, Buryingbar. Do you know Buryingbar is ideal? It's got, so this distance here would be 3 kilometres, 2.5 kilometres of straight alongside the road that is flat and ideal for a bike path to be alongside. From Buryingbar to Mooble, there is already a cycle path. There is already a path built. It is there. It's a bit narrow. It's alongside the highway, but it joins Buryingbar to Mooble. We could use that. From Mooble to Crabs Creek, again, I don't see there's any dramas in constructing alongside. We might have to cut some camphors down. I'm sorry, we might have to cut some camphors down to be able to do this, but it is not impossible. Okay, that's the story on the map. So I'm going to zoom out to show you where we are. Here we are, right? We're talking about this. We're talking about this. We're talking from Byron in this part of the world to Murwillumbah. Murwillumbah being a destination. Did you hear me talk about 2.7 million people in Byron Bay? And if 1% of 2.7 million is 27,000, that's a great number, because that's the number that the rail trail study found would be using a rail trail between Murwillumbah and Crabs Creek. 27,000 people a year. Oh, sounds a lot, doesn't it? Okay, divide that by 365 and you come down with 74 people a day. 74 people a day. Well, they're only going to spend 3 hours if they get on the push bike, go from one end to the other. So that's going to take 3 hours, a quarter of a day. So that's 18 people are going to be on that track at any one time. Can you not see that 1% of people out of Byron Bay going to Murwillumbah as a destination to our fantastic Art Deco, fantastic shops, our art galleries, our funky little shops that need business to be able to grow and prosper. They need the tourists to come, unfortunately, from Byron Bay. And if you only take 1% of those tourists, and I'm not saying it will only be 1%, I'm sure it'll be 5%. 1% of those tourists is the same number as the rail trailers. Hey, you know, I was thinking today, my goodness, if I had a coffee stand somewhere and I was selling coffee at $5 a cup of coffee, and every single person on that day, 74 people on average, bought my cup of coffee, my goodness, I would make $370. I'll be rich. $370 for opening a stall, having the coffee machine, paying the wages, paying the coffee, 1 cup of coffee for every person that comes. I'd make $370. That's fantastic. End of session. Thank you. That's my session on maps. I will try and switch off now. Talk to you next time.